Say you find yourself in the depth of winter and perhaps you wish that you were in possession of slightly more than one petticoat. Ever the optimizer though, you know that even long winters will come to an end and there will come a time when you wish for a nice summerly linen skirt. Surely the two can be combined, no? A brief exploration of extant petticoats from the late 19th and early 20th century reveals that petticoats come in a range of shapes and sizes, but most are quite simply made, with not even a placket to hide the petticoat opening, since this is underwear and never seen on its own anyway. So that, along with a pair of pockets, because pockets are always necessary, will be my main deviations from the historical evidence in adapting this petticoat to be usable both over and under other skirts and petticoats. I will be using this amazingly soft linen with natural off-white thread in the warp and equally natural green thread in the weft. I hear this has to do with when the flax plant is harvested to be turned into linen fiber, and the fact that this is even possible delights me to no end. New for this petticoat, as opposed to all the skirts I've made on this channel thus far, is the curved waistband, which I have not attempted before. I used the cutting guide provided in Agnes Walker's book, Manual of Needlework and Cutting Out, but knowing that I wanted overlap and room for a placket, I tried to assess the length of this waistband with my French curve before adding a few inches on either side. Wide, curved waistbands like these were especially nice for petticoats, as they smooth the line for the skirt on top. Next, we have a lot of pulling of thread, and I mean a lot of pulling thread. First, I am straightening out the edge of my fabric so that I have an even starting point. Next comes the curved waistband, and from this length I also cut both pockets and plackets. Before I pull thread for one 60 cm length for the front panels, one 65 cm length for the back panels, and 4 20 cm lengths for the ruffle at the bottom. Rest assured, my friends, there will be plenty of ruffling happening. I also cut another waistband from my favorite diamond twill linen to help stiffen and line my main fabric and for a small feeling of luxury. In a moment of inspiration, I decided to prep all of my skirt panels before assembly. This includes French seaming both pockets and attaching them to their respective panels, as well as cutting a slit in the back panel, stitching up the placket on one short and one long side, and sewing in and folding over said placket. I also add a placket to the side that will fold over top, but this one I fold back on the skirt panel in its entirety. I find this helps especially soft fabrics get that little bit of support in a crucial area to help it stay nice and smooth. Also, 10 out of 10, absolutely recommend doing all of this while the pieces are manageable. We can then seam up and press all our skirt seams. I opted to fell down rather than French seam the side seams, since this allows me to preserve the unusually nice selvage. Next, I prepare the waistband, which is clipped to help it turn the curve smoothly, although in retrospect I really should have done this after I stitched the waistband and the lining together. I then pressed my waistband, making sure to pull the seam ever so slightly off center so only the green linen shows from the outside. Before I run a gathering thread through the top of my skirt and pin it to my waistband. The waistband lining is then folded over and secured to the gathers with hemming stitches. This is where you would try on the skirt and level the hem if you were, say, a clever person. Skirt part of the petticoat complete, we can now prepare the ruffle, where first all 4 lengths are stitched together into one enormous loop. After a clever comment about how the hemming foot might have failed in my UFO video because the lining was on a curve, I was very excited to try it again on this very straight length of fabric. And behold, it works! Ah, the wonders of technology. We then repeat the process of running a gathering thread through the top, before carefully stroking and pinning our gathers to the bottom of our petticoat. You may think my gathering thread is ridiculously thick, and indeed it is, but you only need to have your thread snap at the very end of a long run of gathers a mere handful of times before you, too, may get a little over-anxious about such things. After sewing on said ruffle, I then went back and folded over the wider seam allowance that I had left for just this occasion, completely encasing the seam allowance of my ruffle. My linen being very soft and my waistband being very curved, it had a lot of elasticity, which means it was snapping threads as soon as I tried it on. This was amended by 2 rows of top stitching just to help reduce the strain on any one seam. Last, of course, we come to the closures. I am marking 3 buttonholes and stitching them in thick silk thread. To which 3 corresponding buttons are affixed at the other end of our waistband. And as tempting as it is to believe that we are done at this point, I must disappoint you. Upon trying on this petticoat with its intended skirt, our petticoat peeks out at the bottom. Most indecent. Fear not though, for there is no reason to throw this project in the naughty pile just yet. Instead, we will do as the Victorians did and strategically affix a tuck at the front. This ingenious design ensured petticoats could be taken up or let down depending on the owner's height and changing fashions without requiring a new petticoat altogether. And with that final amendment, our new petticoat friend is complete. floofy, swirly, poofy, excellent for when the weather really starts to warm up, but also perfectly comfortable under my favorite wool skirt for extra swoosh and warmth. But that is not the main event of this video, so back to the petticoat. In which we may stare pensively out the window and eagerly await the spring.